Tonight, under the cold moon, she's stripped of her pack status, mocked, rejected, utterly alone. But destiny has plans for the wolf everyone dismissed. Maya Thornfield stands in the center of the ceremonial circle, her bare feet planted on frost-covered earth, while 300 wolves watch her fail. Again, the harvest moon blazes overhead, its silver light meant to awaken the beast within every pack member on their 18th birthday. Instead, it illuminates only her shame. Still nothing, sneers Victoria Ashworth, the Alpha's daughter, her perfectly shifted form gleaming like spun gold in the moonlight. How embarrassing. Maya's chest burns with the effort of trying to shift, her human form trembling as she reaches desperately for the wolf that should be her birthright. The pack's collective disappointment crashes over her in waves. She can feel their scorn, their pity, their growing certainty that she doesn't belong here. Not in the Silvercrest pack. Not anywhere. But from the shadows of the ancient oaks, piercing gray eyes watch her with something that isn't disappointment. Something that might be recognition. Chapter 1. The morning after the failed ceremony, Maya's world crumbled completely. Pack meeting. Now. Beta Marcus Ironwood's voice cut through the dawn air like a blade as he stood in the doorway of the small cabin Maya shared with her grandmother. His weathered face held no sympathy, only the cold efficiency that had made him the pack's second-in-command for 20 years. Maya's grandmother, Elena, placed a protective hand on her shoulder. She needs time. Time's up. Marcus stepped inside without invitation, his massive frame filling the tiny kitchen. Alpha's orders. Every pack member present. Maya pulled her worn sweater tighter around her shoulders. She'd barely slept, her body still aching from the failed shift attempt, her mind replaying every moment of public humiliation. The other 18-year-olds had shifted beautifully, powerful wolves with gleaming coats and fierce eyes. She'd remained stubbornly, shamefully human. The pack had gathered in the Great Lodge, a massive log structure at the heart of their mountain territory. Maya slipped in through the back, hoping to remain invisible, but whispers followed her like hunting hounds. The broken wolf. Still human at 18. Should have been sent away years ago. Alpha Dominic Blackstone stood at the front of the room, his presence commanding absolute silence. Even in human form, his power rolled off him in waves that made lesser wolves bow their heads instinctively. His dark hair was streaked with early silver despite his 40 years, and his green eyes could freeze blood or ignite passion with equal intensity. Maya had worshipped him from afar since childhood, the strongest, most respected alpha in the Northern Territories. Last night, his deep voice resonated through the lodge. We witnessed something unprecedented in our pack's 200-year history. A wolf who cannot shift. Maya's cheeks burned as every head turned toward her. She wanted to sink through the floorboards, to disappear entirely. The question before us, Alpha Blackstone continued, his gaze finding hers across the crowded room, is what to do with a packmate who cannot fulfill the most basic requirement of our kind. Victoria Ashworth raised her hand, her blue eyes glittering with malice. Alpha, surely the answer is obvious. She's not really one of us. She should be relocated. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Relocation was pack speak for exile, being stripped of protection, territory, family. Sent into the human world with nothing but the clothes on her back. That seems harsh for someone so young, a new voice interjected, smooth as aged whiskey. Maya's head snapped up. Standing near the fireplace was the most stunning man she'd ever seen. Tall and lean with midnight black hair and those piercing gray eyes that had watched her fail the night before. He wore dark jeans and a leather jacket that emphasized the predatory grace in his movements. Everything about him screamed danger and power. And you are? Alpha Blackstone's tone carried warning. The stranger smiled, revealing perfect white teeth. Kieran Nightshade. I've come to discuss a territorial matter with you, Alpha. But I couldn't help overhearing your personnel issue. This is pack business, Beta Marcus growled. Outsiders have no voice here. Kieran's gray eyes never left Maya's face. Actually, I think I might have a solution that benefits everyone. Maya's grandmother tensed beside her. No, Elena whispered, so quietly only Maya could hear. Not him. Not now. What kind of solution? Alpha Blackstone asked, though his posture suggested he was prepared to end this conversation violently, if necessary. I need a liaison, Kieran said casually. Someone to help bridge the gap between my pack and the human settlements we'll be working near. Someone who can pass for human without question. His gaze lingered meaningfully on Maya. In exchange, I'll provide sanctuary. No exile necessary. The lodge erupted in whispers. Maya's mind reeled. Was he offering to take her away from everything she'd ever known? To save her from exile by essentially choosing it herself? That's not a solution, Victoria snapped. That's postponing the inevitable. She'll never be a real wolf. Perhaps not, Kieran agreed, pushing off from the fireplace with fluid grace. But she might be something more interesting. Alpha Blackstone studied the stranger with calculating eyes. What's your interest in our failed shifter, Alpha Nightshade?
Alpha.
Maya's breath caught. This dangerous stranger was an alpha himself. Call it curiosity, Kieran replied. I've heard whispers about Elena, Thornfield's granddaughter. About her bloodline. Maya's grandmother went rigid. Those are old stories. Gossip. Are they? Kieran's smile turned predatory. Maya Thornfield, descendant of the last Luna Blessed. The only bloodline that produced wolves who could command moon magic itself. He took a step closer to Maya, and she caught his scent, pine forests and storm clouds and something wildly masculine that made her pulse race. Tell me, little wolf, did you feel nothing last night?
No stirring? No.
Connection to the moon's power? Maya's mouth went dry.
She had felt something.
Not a shift, but a pulling sensation, like invisible threads connecting her to the silver light above. She'd thought it was wishful thinking. The Luna-blessed bloodline died out 50 years ago, Alpha Blackstone said dismissively. Everyone knows that. Everyone assumes that, Kieran corrected. But what if they're wrong? What if the power simply skipped a generation? Or two? His gray eyes bored into Maya's. What if it needs the right catalyst to awaken? The lodge fell silent. Maya could hear her heart pounding, could smell the fear and uncertainty rolling off the pack in waves. Alpha Blackstone's voice cut through the tension. Even if that were true, which I doubt, Maya has proven she cannot shift. Luna blessed or not, she's still broken. Is she?
Kieran asked softly.
Or is she simply different? Maya found her voice at last. What are you saying? Kieran turned to face her fully, and she felt the weight of his attention like a physical force. I'm saying, Maya Thornfield, that perhaps your destiny isn't to be like everyone else. Perhaps it's to be extraordinary. Victoria laughed harshly. Extraordinary? She can't even manage ordinary. Maya's temper flared, the first real emotion besides shame she'd felt in hours. I may not be able to shift, but at least I'm not cruel for sport. Careful. Victoria's eyes flashed gold, her wolf close to the surface. Some of us earned our place in this pack. And some of us were just born lucky. Maya shot back, surprising herself with her boldness. Alpha Blackstone slammed his fist on the table. Enough. This discussion ends now. Maya, you have two choices. Accept Alpha Nightshade's offer and leave Silvercrest territory, or face exile with no protection whatsoever. Maya looked around the lodge at faces she'd known all her life. Some showed pity, others relief that the broken wolf would finally be gone. Only her grandmother's eyes held love and terrible fear. How long do I have to decide? Maya asked quietly. Until sunset, Alpha Blackstone replied. Choose wisely. As the pack began to disperse, Kieran approached Maya and her grandmother. Up close, his presence was even more overwhelming. He moved like liquid shadow, every step calculated and controlled. Elena, he said formally, inclining his head to Maya's grandmother. It's been many years. Not long enough, Kieran Nightshade. Elena replied coldly. I know what you are. His smile was sharp as winter wind. I'm her best chance at survival. You know that. At what cost? That, Kieran said, his gray eyes finding Maya's again. Remains to be seen. Chapter 2. The afternoon sun filtered through the cabin windows as Maya sat at her grandmother's kitchen table, staring at a cup of tea that had long since grown cold. The weight of her impossible choice pressed down on her shoulders like a physical burden. Elena moved around the small kitchen with nervous energy, cleaning dishes that were already spotless, rearranging herbs that were already perfectly organized. Finally, she sank into the chair across from Maya, her weathered hands reaching across the table to grasp her granddaughter's. "Tell me about him," Maya said quietly. "About Kieran Nightshade. You know him." Elena's grip tightened. "I knew him. Long ago, when I was young and foolish and thought I could change the world." She stared out the window toward the forest. "He was different then. Or maybe I was just too naive to see what he really was." "What is he really?" "Dangerous. Powerful. The kind of wolf who gets what he wants no matter the cost." Elena's blue eyes, so much like Maya's own, filled with old pain. "He's the alpha of the Nightshade pack. Mercenaries and outcasts who live by their own rules. They take contracts other packs won't touch. They go places civilized wolves fear to tread." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "And he wants me to go with him. He wants something from you. Kieran Nightshade doesn't make offers out of kindness." Elena released Maya's hands and stood, pacing to the window. "But he's right about one thing. You are from the Luna-blessed bloodline. Your great-great-grandmother was the last true Luna-blessed in the Northern Territories." "What does that mean exactly?" Elena turned back to her granddaughter. "Luna-blessed wolves could do things others couldn't. Heal with touch. Sense emotions and intentions. Command lesser wolves with voice alone. Some say they could even speak to the moon itself, draw power directly from her light." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And they could share their gifts with their chosen mates, making them stronger than any ordinary alpha." Maya's heart skipped. "Is that why he wants me? Because he thinks I might have these abilities?" "Possibly. Or—" Elena hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. "There are other reasons someone like Kieran might want a Luna-blessed wolf. Darker reasons." Before Maya could ask what she meant, a knock echoed through the cabin. Elena tensed, but Maya was already moving toward the door. She could smell him through the wood, that intoxicating combination of pine and storms and wild masculinity. She opened the door to find Kieran leaning against the frame, looking completely at ease despite the hostile territory surrounding him. He'd changed from his formal meeting attire into dark jeans and a simple black t-shirt that emphasized the lean muscles of his torso. "Second thoughts?" he asked, reading her expression. "Many thoughts," Maya replied honestly. "None of them particularly comforting." He smiled, and she noticed it reached his eyes this time, transforming his harsh features into something almost boyish. "Smart girl. You should be wary of me." "Then why should I trust you?" "Because," he said, stepping closer to the threshold, "I'm the only one offering you a choice instead of making one for you." Maya felt the truth of that statement hit home. Everyone else, the pack, Alpha Blackstone, even her grandmother, was telling her what she should do, what was best for her, what she was capable of. Only Kieran was asking what she wanted. "May I come in?" he asked politely. Elena appeared behind Maya.
"No."
"Say what you came to say from there." Kieran's gray eyes flicked to the older woman. "Still protecting her from the big bad wolves, Elena? How's that working out? Better than letting predators into my home." "Grandmother," Maya said softly, then looked back at Kieran. "What exactly would this liaison position involve?" "My pack has contracts with several human corporations that are expanding into supernatural territories. They need someone who can navigate both worlds, someone who understands our culture, but can pass for human when necessary." He leaned against the doorframe, casual but alert. "You'd help facilitate meetings, translate cultural differences, ensure everyone stays safe and profitable. And in return, protection, resources, training." His eyes intensified. "And the chance to discover what you really are instead of mourning what you're not." Maya felt something stir in her chest. Hope, maybe, or just desperate longing for a purpose beyond her current shame. Training in what? Whatever gifts you might possess. Luna-blessed abilities don't always manifest the same way traditional wolf powers do. You might not be able to shift, but that doesn't mean you're powerless. He glanced at Elena, then back to Maya. I have contacts who understand these things. People who could help you explore your heritage. For a price, Elena said grimly. Everything has a price, Elena. At least I'm being honest about mine. Maya stepped between them. What's your price? Kieran was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. 3 years of service to my pack. After that, you're free to choose your own path. 3 years is a long time, Maya said carefully. Not as long as a lifetime of exile. Maya felt the weight of sunset approaching. In a few hours, she would have to make her choice, and there was no good option. Stay and face exile with no protection, or go with a dangerous stranger who might be offering salvation, or something far worse. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. Of course. Why me? Really? There have to be other wolves who could do this job. Wolves who can actually shift and fight, and do all the things pack wolves are supposed to do. Kieran's expression grew serious. Because you're not like other wolves, Maya. You never will be. And the contracts I take, the places I go, normal isn't what I need. I need someone who thinks differently, who sees the world from outside the pack mentality.
He paused.
And yes, because your bloodline might be the key to unlocking abilities that could benefit both of us. So, you're using me. We'd be using each other, he corrected. That's how the best partnerships work. Maya looked back at her grandmother, seeing the fear and resignation in Elena's eyes. Then she gazed around the small cabin that had been her entire world, at the forest beyond where she'd never been able to run as a wolf, at the pack territory that had never truly felt like home. If I go with you, she said slowly, and it doesn't work out, if I'm not what you think I am, or if I can't do the job, then I'll help you establish yourself somewhere safe in the human world, Kieran promised. No exile, no abandonment. You'll have skills, resources, and a chance at a real life. It was more than anyone else was offering. I need to think, Maya said. Kieran nodded. You have until sunset. I'll be waiting at the north border. He straightened, preparing to leave, then paused. Maya? Yes. Whatever you decide, don't let anyone convince you that failing to fit their mold makes you broken. Sometimes the most powerful wolves are the ones who refuse to be tamed. After he left, Maya and Elena sat in heavy silence. Finally, Elena spoke. I can't make this choice for you, child. But I can tell you this. If you go with him, your life will never be simple or safe again. Maya looked out at the forest, where she'd spent 18 years as an outsider. Has it ever been simple or safe? Elena's smile was sad but proud. No, I suppose it hasn't. As the sun began its descent toward the mountains, Maya made her decision. She packed a single bag with her few belongings, said goodbye to the only home she'd ever known, and walked toward the north border, where Kieran Nightshade waited. She didn't look back. Behind her, Elena Thornfield stood in the doorway of the empty cabin, tears streaming down her face as she whispered an old blessing into the wind. May the moon guide your path, little wolf. And may you find the strength to claim the destiny that awaits you. The pack would discover Maya's choice in the morning. By then, she would be gone, beginning a journey that would transform not just her own life, but the supernatural world itself. The broken wolf was about to discover she had never been broken at all. Chapter 3. The Nightshade Pack's territory was nothing like Maya had expected. Instead of the traditional lodge and cabin setup of Silver Crest, Kieran's pack operated out of a converted military compound hidden deep in the Cascade Mountains. High concrete walls topped with razor wire surrounded a collection of sleek buildings that looked more like a private security firm than a werewolf pack home. Not what you pictured? Kieran asked, noting her wide-eyed expression as they passed through the fortified gates. Maya shook her head, clutching her single duffel bag tighter. The drive from Silver Crest had taken 3 hours, during which Kieran had remained mostly silent, allowing her to process the magnitude of what she'd chosen. Now, faced with this militaristic compound, doubt crept up her spine like ice. The Nightshade pack isn't like other packs, Kieran continued, parking his black SUV near the main building. We don't live by tradition or hierarchy. We live by results. As they climbed out of the vehicle, Maya caught scents that made her human nose wrinkle. Gun oil, silver, and something chemical she couldn't identify. Underlying it all was the musk of wolves, but these wolves smelled different, harder, more dangerous than the pack she'd left behind. Alpha's back. The voice carried across the courtyard, and Maya turned to see a woman approaching them. She was tall and lean, with short-cropped auburn hair and scars running down her left cheek. Her amber eyes assessed Maya with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey. "Zara, meet Maya Thornfield," Kieran said. "Maya, this is Zara Knox, my beta and head of operations." Zara extended a calloused hand. "So you're the one who can't shift." Maya's cheeks burned, but she met Zara's grip firmly. "That's me, the broken wolf." "Interesting." Zara's scarred face broke into an unexpected grin. "I like her already. Anyone who owns their reputation has potential." More pack members emerged from various buildings, drawn by curiosity about their Alpha's new acquisition. Maya counted at least 20 wolves, but unlike Silvercrest's families and elders, these were all adults in their prime fighting years. Their eyes held the hard gleam of survivors. "Pack meeting in 10, Kieran announced. "Conference room." As the wolves dispersed, Zara lingered. "Fair warning, new girl. Half the pack thinks bringing you here was a mistake. The other half thinks it was insanity." She winked. "I'm reserving judgment until I see what you can do." The conference room looked more like a military briefing center than a pack gathering space. Digital screens lined the walls, displaying maps, photographs, and what looked like surveillance footage. The assembled wolves sat in rolling chairs around a long table, their posture alert and professional. Kieran took his place at the head of the table. "Everyone meet Maya Thornfield. She'll be joining us as our new human liaison specialist." A wolf with ice-blue eyes and prematurely white hair snorted. "Human liaison? She's not even human. She's just a wolf who can't wolf." "That's enough, Frost." Kieran's voice carried enough alpha command to make the white-haired wolf's shoulders tense in automatic submission. "Actually," Maya said, surprising herself by speaking up, "he's right. I'm not human, and I'm not a proper wolf either. I'm something in between, which might actually be useful for bridging those worlds." The room fell silent. Maya could feel their assessment, their skepticism. But also, she realized their interest. "Tell them about the Cordova contract," Kieran said quietly. Zara activated one of the wall screens. 3 weeks ago, Cordova Industries hired us to investigate supernatural incidents at their new logging operation in Washington state. Workers have been disappearing, equipment sabotaged, and there have been sightings." "What kind of sightings?" Maya asked. "The kind that make humans very nervous about working in the deep forest," Kieran replied. "Cordova's executives are pushing for results, but they can't know that the contractors they hired are werewolves. That's where you come in." Maya studied the images on the screen: dense forest, industrial equipment, and what looked like claw marks on trees that were too large to come from any normal animal. "You need someone who can speak corporate human while understanding supernatural threats." "Exactly." Kieran's approval warmed her more than she'd expected. "But it's not without risk. Whatever's out there has already killed 6 people." The wolf called. Frost leaned forward. "And you want to send the non-shifter into potential combat?" "I want to send someone who thinks differently," Kieran corrected. "Maya, what do you see in those photos that we might miss?" Maya studied the screen carefully, letting her instincts guide her observations. "The claw marks are too uniform. If this were a wild animal acting on instinct, there would be more variation in height, depth, angle. These look deliberate, controlled."
She paused.
"Like someone wants them to look like animal attacks." Several wolves exchanged glances. Zara nodded approvingly. "Go on." "The disappearances," Maya continued, warming to her analysis. "They all happened during shift changes, when workers would be isolated from their teams but still expected somewhere specific. That's not coincidence. That's someone who understands human work schedules. So you think it's not an animal at all, Kieran said. I think it's a shifter who wants humans to believe it's just an animal. The question is why? Maya looked around the room. What's so valuable about that particular forest? Zara pulled up another screen showing geological surveys. According to this, nothing. Standard old-growth timber, some mineral deposits, but nothing extraordinary. Then maybe it's not about what's in the forest, Maya mused. Maybe it's about what the forest prevents access to. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, a wolf Maya hadn't been introduced to, a compact man with intelligent brown eyes, spoke up. What if she's right? What if someone's using that forest as a barrier, and Cordova's logging operation threatens to expose something they want hidden? That, Kieran said, is exactly the kind of thinking we need. Maya, pack your gear. We leave for Washington in the morning. As the meeting dispersed, Maya felt a mixture of excitement and terror. She'd just committed to her first mission with a pack of mercenary wolves, investigating supernatural murders in a remote forest. It was either the best decision she'd ever made, or the one that would get her killed. Second thoughts. Zara appeared beside her as they filed out of the conference room. Third and fourth thoughts, Maya admitted. But I'm still in.
Good.
Because I got a feeling this job is going to test everything you think you know about being broken. Zara's scarred face split into a grin that was equal parts encouraging and terrifying. Welcome to the Nightshade Pack, Maya Thornfield. Try not to die on your first mission. Chapter 4. The Cordova Industries logging camp looked like a fortress under siege. Floodlights blazed from every corner, casting harsh shadows across the muddy compound. Armed security guards patrolled the perimeter while workers huddled in groups, their conversations muted but tense. The entire operation radiated fear and paranoia. Cheerful place, Zara muttered as their SUV passed through the checkpoint. Maya studied the humans through the vehicle's tinted windows. Their scents reached her even through the glass. Sweat, coffee, cigarettes, and underneath it all, the acrid tang of terror. These people were convinced they were being hunted. Remember, Kieran said as they approached the main office trailer, Maya takes point on all human interactions. We're her security team, nothing more. The pack had adopted human personas for the mission. Kieran became Kyle Nash, Maya's business partner in Nash Security Consulting. Zara was Zoe Knox, their tech specialist. 3 other pack members, Frost, the brown-eyed wolf called Connor, and a silent tracker named Ghost, rounded out their security team. Maya had spent the drive rehearsing her cover story and trying to ignore the way her body responded to Kieran's proximity in the confined space. Every time he moved, every time his scent shifted with mood or attention, her pulse quickened. It was distracting and completely inappropriate given their professional relationship. The trailer's door opened before they could knock. A harried-looking man in an expensive suit stepped out, his relief visible when he saw their group. Ms. Thornfield? Thank God you're here. I'm Richard Cordova, VP of Operations. He shook Maya's hand with the desperate grip of a drowning man. We're losing a worker every few days. The union's threatening to pull everyone out, and the media's starting to ask questions we can't answer. Maya slipped into her professional persona easily. Mr. Cordova, I understand your situation is urgent. My team and I are here to identify the threat and neutralize it as quietly as possible. What do you need from us? Access to the incident sites, personnel records for the missing workers, and your full cooperation in maintaining our cover story. Maya felt Kieran's approval like warmth against her back. We're wildlife specialists brought in to deal with an aggressive predator. Nothing more. Of course, of course. Cordova gestured toward a map on the trailer wall. The attacks have all occurred in this section of the forest. We call it the Deep Cut. It's where we're harvesting the oldest trees. Kieran stepped forward, his presence immediately commanding Cordova's attention. Any patterns? Time of day, weather conditions, types of workers targeted. Always during shift changes, usually at dusk or dawn. And Cordova hesitated. This is going to sound crazy, but the workers who've survived encounters say the animal seemed intelligent, like it was thinking, planning. Maya and Kieran exchanged glances. "We'll need to examine the sites firsthand," Maya said. "Tonight, if possible." "Tonight?" Cordova paled. "But that's when it's most active. Exactly why we need to be there." Maya's confidence surprised even her. "Don't worry, Mr. Cordova. This is what we do." 3 hours later, Maya found herself hiking through dense Washington forest, surrounded by wolves who moved like ghosts through the underbrush. The moon was a thin crescent, providing minimal light, but her companions navigated the terrain with supernatural grace. "First time in the deep forest?" Connor asked quietly, falling into step beside her. "First time hunting something that hunts back," Maya replied honestly. "Nervous?" Maya considered the question. Fear hummed through her veins, but underneath it was something else, anticipation, maybe even excitement.
Yes.
But also alive. More alive than I've felt in years. "That's the hunter awakening," Connor said approvingly. "Every wolf has it, shifter or not." They reached the first incident site 20 minutes later. Even in human form, the pack could smell the lingering traces of violence, blood, terror, and something else that made Maya's skin crawl. "Rogue shifter," Frost said definitively, crouching near a tree marked with those 2 uniform claw marks. "But the scent is wrong." Kieran knelt beside him, nostrils flaring.
Old.
"Very old." Maya approached the tree, running her fingers over the deep gouges. The wood felt cold under her touch, colder than the night air could account for. "What kind of shifter lives for centuries?" "The kind that shouldn't," Zara said grimly. A branch snapped in the darkness beyond their circle. Every wolf froze, instantly alert. Maya's human hearing caught nothing, but she could feel the change in their postures, the way they positioned themselves protectively around her. "It's watching us," Ghost whispered, his voice barely audible. Maya closed her eyes, trying to use senses she wasn't sure she possessed. There, a presence in the forest, ancient and patient and hungry. It felt like winter and death and endless, gnawing loneliness. "It's been alone for a long time," she said suddenly. "Decades, maybe centuries. It's not killing for food or territory." "Then what?" Kieran asked, moving closer to her. "Company," Maya realized with horrible certainty. "It's trying to turn them, make more like itself." The revelation hit the pack like a physical blow. Rogue shifters who created other shifters without consent were abominations, violating the most sacred laws of their kind. "We need to get back to camp," Kieran decided. "Plan our approach." But as they turned to leave, Maya felt something she'd never experienced before, a pulling sensation, like invisible threads connecting her to the moonlight filtering through the canopy above. Power flowed down those threads, cool and silver and completely beyond her understanding. "Wait," she said, her voice carrying strange harmonics that made every wolf turn to stare at her. In the distance, something howled. Not a wolf's howl, but something twisted and broken, and full of rage. The sound raised every hair on Maya's arms and sent ice through her veins. "It knows we're here," she whispered, and somehow she was certain that the ancient presence in the forest knew exactly who and what she was. The hunt had begun. Chapter 5. Maya woke before dawn with silver fire coursing through her veins. She sat up in her narrow bunk in the temporary quarters Kieran had arranged at the logging camp, gasping as unfamiliar energy pulsed beneath her skin. The sensation was unlike anything she'd ever experienced, wild and ancient and utterly beyond her control. "Maya?" Kieran's voice came through the thin wall that separated their rooms. "You okay?" She tried to respond, but when she opened her mouth, only a whisper emerged. The silver fire was growing stronger, responding to something she couldn't see or understand. Through the small window, she could see the moon setting behind the mountains, its pale light seeming to reach directly for her. The door burst open without ceremony. Kieran stood in the threshold wearing only jeans, his chest bare and his gray eyes wild with concern. The moment he stepped into her space, Maya felt the connection, invisible threads of power that seemed to link her awakening abilities to his alpha strength. "Your eyes," he breathed, moving toward her with predatory grace. "They're glowing." Maya looked at her reflection in the dark window. Silver light pulsed behind her blue irises, casting an ethereal glow across her features. She looked like something from the old legends, beautiful and terrible and utterly supernatural. "I can feel it," she whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in Kieran's bones. "The moon. It's calling to me." Kieran reached for her, then stopped himself. "May I?" Maya nodded, and his warm hands framed her face. The moment he touched her, the silver fire stabilized, flowing between them in a circuit of power that made them both gasp. "Luna blessed," he said with wonder and something that might have been reverence. "You're actually awakening." "What's happening to me?" "Power recognizing power. Your abilities are responding to my alpha energy, using it as a conduit to manifest." His thumbs traced over her cheekbones as silver light continued to pulse behind her eyes. "But Maya, you need to know, what you're feeling right now is only the beginning." A scream shattered the pre-dawn quiet. Both of them reacted instantly, Kieran grabbing a shirt while Maya pulled on boots and a jacket. They rushed outside to find chaos. Workers ran in every direction, their shouts mixing with the wail of emergency sirens. The deep cut. Richard Cordova staggered toward them, his face white with terror. It took 3 more workers. Right from the equipment shed, Zara appeared at their side, fully armed and battle-ready. The thing's getting bolder. And hungrier. Kieran's expression turned deadly. "Where's the rest of the pack?" "Already mobilizing." "Connor's tracking the scent trail, but Maya." Zara looked at her with concern. "Your eyes are still glowing. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Maya felt the silver fire pull stronger, as if responding to the threat. "I don't think I have a choice. It's connected to this somehow, my awakening and whatever's out there." "Then we go hunting," Kieran decided. But Maya stays in the middle of the formation. No heroics. The pack moved through the forest like a coordinated strike force. Even in human form, they navigated the dense underbrush with supernatural grace, following Connor's hand signals as he tracked their quarry. Maya found herself keeping pace easily, her newly awakened senses providing information she'd never had access to before. She could smell the rogue shifter now, ancient and corrupt, like meat left to rot in winter caves. But underneath the decay was something else, something that made her newly sensitive abilities recoil in recognition. "Kieran," she said quietly, "I think it's not just any rogue shifter." "What do you mean?" Maya closed her eyes, letting the silver fire guide her perceptions. "It feels familiar, like an echo of something I should know." They reached a clearing where the trail ended abruptly. Connor held up a hand, indicating they should stop. In the center of the open space, 3 bodies lay arranged in a perfect circle, their eyes staring sightlessly at the dying moon above. "Ritual positioning," Ghost observed grimly. "It's trying to create something." Maya stepped forward despite Kieran's warning gesture. The moment her feet crossed into the circle, power exploded through the clearing, not her silver fire, but something darker and infinitely more ancient. The corpses began to twitch. "Everyone back!" Kieran roared, but it was too late. The bodies were rising, their movements jerky and unnatural, their eyes now glowing with sickly yellow light. "Revenants," Zara snarled, drawing a silver-loaded pistol. "It's making undead shifters." The newly created abominations lunged at the pack with inhuman speed. Kieran shifted instantly, his human form exploding into a massive black wolf that intercepted the first revenant's charge. Zara and the others followed suit, filling the clearing with the sounds of supernatural combat. Maya stood frozen in the center of the circle, watching her new packmates fight monsters that should not exist. One of the revenants broke free from the melee, its yellow eyes fixed on her with predatory hunger. Time slowed. Maya could see its claws extending, smell the decay on its breath, feel the wrongness radiating from its corrupted form. And underneath her fear, the silver fire began to build towards something that felt like an explosion. "No," she said, and her voice carried power that made every combatant in the clearing freeze. Silver light erupted from her skin, washing over the clearing in waves that seemed to cleanse the very air. Where the light touched the revenants, they screamed, sounds of agony and release that spoke of souls finally finding peace. Within seconds, the corrupted bodies had crumbled to dust, leaving only normal corpses behind. Maya collapsed to her knees, the silver fire guttering like a spent candle. Around her, the pack slowly shifted back to human form, their expressions ranging from awe to concern. "What the hell was that?" Frost demanded. Kieran reached Maya first, pulling her against his chest as tremors ran through her exhausted body. "Luna magic," he said quietly. "She purified them, sent their souls to rest." "I didn't know I could do that," Maya whispered against his shoulder. "Neither did I." His arms tightened around her protectively. "But whoever created those things did. They wanted to test your abilities." A slow clap echoed through the forest. The pack spun toward the sound, forming a protective circle around Maya and Kieran. From the shadows stepped a figure that made Maya's blood turn to ice. Tall and gaunt, with silver hair and eyes like winter storms, he moved with the fluid grace of extreme age and power. When he smiled, his teeth were too sharp, too white. "Hello, granddaughter," he said, his voice carrying the authority of centuries. "I've been waiting so very long to meet you." Maya's world tilted. "What? Didn't Elena tell you about your great-great-grandfather?" "I'm hurt." His smile widened, revealing more of those predatory teeth. "Though I suppose she had good reason to keep family secrets. My name is Matthias Thornfield, and I am the reason Luna blessed blood runs in your veins." Kieran's growl rumbled through his chest. "That's impossible. The records say. The records say what I wanted them to say." Matthias waved dismissively. "It's amazing what people will believe when you kill everyone who knows the truth." His storm-gray eyes fixed on Maya. "I've been watching you, child, waiting for your power to manifest, so I could reclaim what is mine." "You're the rogue shifter," Maya realized with growing horror. "You've been killing those workers, creating revenants." "Testing you," he corrected. "Making sure your abilities were developing properly. And oh, how beautifully they've bloomed." He gestured at the dust that had once been his creations. "Pure Luna magic, untainted by modern weakness. You'll make a perfect vessel." "Vessel for what?" Kieran demanded, moving protectively in front of Maya. Matthias's expression turned cold. "For my return to true power, Alpha Nightshade. You see, Luna-blessed wolves can do more than heal and purify. In the old days, they could transfer their abilities to their chosen mates, making them gods among shifters." His smile returned, sharp as winter wind. "But they can also be emptied. Their power harvested and consumed by one who knows the proper rituals." Maya felt sick. "You want to steal my abilities? I want to reclaim what was always mine. Luna magic is a family gift, passed down through Thornfield blood. As the eldest of our line, those powers belong to me by right." "Over my dead body," Kieran snarled, his form beginning to shimmer with the promise of shifting. "That can be arranged," Matthias replied pleasantly. "But first, let me show my granddaughter what centuries of power look like." The ancient shifter's form exploded outward, but instead of becoming a normal wolf, he transformed into something out of nightmare. Massive and silver white, with eyes like burning coals and claws that could tear through steel, he was what happened when power corrupted absolutely. "Run," Kieran commanded the pack, but his eyes never left Maya. "Get her out of here." "No," Maya said, silver fire beginning to build behind her eyes again. "This is my family, my responsibility." "Maya, trust me," she said, and rose to face the monster that shared her blood. The battle for her soul was about to begin. Chapter 6. The creature that had once been Matthias Thornfield circled the clearing like death given form. His corrupted wolf shape stood nearly 7 feet at the shoulder, silver fur matted with the stench of centuries and eyes that burned with stolen power. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every life he'd consumed. You cannot run from family, granddaughter. Blood calls to blood. Power seeks its proper home. His massive head tilted, studying Maya with predatory interest. I can smell your fear. Good. Fear will make the transfer cleaner. Maya felt the silver fire building in her chest, responding to the threat but also to something else. A horrible recognition. This monster's power felt like her own, corrupted and twisted but undeniably familiar. You're not my family, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the trees around the clearing shiver. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't kill innocent people. Matthias laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Innocent? Those workers were food, child. Sustenance to keep me strong while I waited for you to mature. He took a step closer, and Maya could feel the wrongness radiating from him like heat from a forge. You'll understand when you've lived as long as I have. Morality is a luxury the powerful cannot afford. Kieran moved to intercept, his human form already beginning to shift. Maya, get behind me.
No.
Maya stepped forward instead, placing herself between Kieran and the monster. He's right about one thing, this is about blood. About family power. And that means it's my fight. Silver light began to emanate from her skin, but this time it felt different. Controlled. Purposeful. The awakening that had started at dawn was completing itself under the pressure of mortal threat. Impressive, Matthias purred. Already learning to channel the gift. But you're barely awake, child. Let me show you what centuries of cultivation can accomplish. The corrupted shifter's form began to glow with sickly yellow light, stolen Luna magic twisted into something obscene. When he moved, reality seemed to bend around him, shadows deepening and the very air growing thick with malevolent power. Maya felt his assault hit her like a physical blow, that yellow corruption trying to force its way into her mind, her soul, her newly awakened abilities. For a moment, she faltered. The silver fire flickered, and she heard Matthias's triumphant growl. Then Kieran's hand touched her shoulder. The moment their skin made contact, power exploded between them. Not just her Luna magic, but something new, a perfect fusion of Alpha strength and Luna wisdom that had been prophesied in the oldest pack legends. Silver fire and shadow dark power spiraled together, creating something neither of them could have achieved alone. Impossible, Matthias snarled, his corruption recoiling from their combined light. You're not bonded. You can't channel together without a mate bond. Maya felt the truth of it singing in her bones. She and Kieran were meant for this, meant for each other. The connection she'd felt since their first meeting wasn't just attraction. It was destiny recognizing itself. Maybe we don't need your old rituals, Maya said, silver fire now burning steady and bright around both her and Kieran. Maybe power finds its own way. She reached for Kieran's free hand, and the moment their fingers interlaced, the world exploded into silver light. But instead of the wild, uncontrolled energy from before, this was focused, purposeful, guided by instincts older than civilization. Together they struck. Pure Luna magic, amplified by alpha power and guided by righteous fury, slammed into Matthias like divine judgment. His corrupted form screamed as centuries of stolen power began to unravel, the yellow sickness burning away under silver fire. You don't know what you're doing, he roared, his massive form beginning to shrink as the corruption left him. Without my guidance, you'll never learn to control it. You'll burn yourself out. Then that's my choice, Maya replied, pouring more power into their combined assault. My power, my risk, my decision. Around them, the pack watched in awe as their newest member and their alpha worked in perfect synchronization to destroy a threat that had terrorized the supernatural world for generations. Zara later said it was like watching the moon itself come down to earth in the form of two people who moved as one. Matthias's corruption finally broke completely. His massive, twisted form collapsed back into that of an ancient man, still dangerous, but no longer the monster that had fed on innocence for centuries. He lay gasping in the center of the clearing, his storm gray, eyes now merely human. "You've destroyed everything," he whispered. "Centuries of accumulated power gone." "Good," Maya said simply. She knelt beside him, silver light still dancing around her fingers. "But you're still family. Still my blood. So I'll give you a choice." "What choice?" Maya placed her hand on his forehead, and he gasped as pure Luna magic flowed into him. Not the corrupted power he'd stolen, but healing energy that sought to cleanse rather than consume. Live as you were meant to live. As a normal shifter, with a normal lifespan and normal power. Or die here, now, as the monster you chose to become. For a long moment, Matthias stared up at her with something that might have been wonder. "You would heal me? After everything?" "I would give you the chance to heal yourself," Maya corrected. "What you do with that chance is up to you." The ancient shifter closed his eyes, tears leaking from beneath his lids. I had forgotten what it felt like. To be clean. Maya felt the last of the corruption leave him, his stolen power dissolving harmlessly into the earth. When she lifted her hand, Matthias Thornfield was just an old man who had made terrible choices and been given an unexpected chance at redemption. "Go," she told him quietly. "Find a pack that will take you. Live whatever years you have left in service instead of selfishness. And never let me see you hunting innocents again." He nodded shakily and shifted, not into the massive corrupted beast, but into an ordinary gray wolf who looked every one of his centuries. Without a word, he disappeared into the forest. Maya swayed on her feet, the effort of channeling so much power finally taking its toll. Kieran caught her before she could fall, pulling her against his chest as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. "That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen," he murmured against her hair, "or the most insane." "Why can't it be both?" Maya asked, managing a weak smile. Around them, the pack began to approach cautiously. Maya realized that everything had changed in the last few minutes. She was no longer the broken wolf they'd reluctantly accepted. She was something else entirely, something that might actually be worthy of the Nightshade pack. "So," Zara said, breaking the reverent silence, "anyone else feel like we just witnessed the birth of a legend?" Frost, who had been so skeptical of Maya from the beginning, knelt in the traditional gesture of pack submission. "Luna," he said formally, "we are honored to serve." One by one, the other pack members followed suit, until only Kieran remained standing with Maya in his arms. "Well," he said, his gray eyes warm with pride and something deeper, "I guess that settles the question of whether you're Luna blessed." Maya looked around at her new pack, her chosen family, as they knelt in recognition of abilities she was only beginning to understand. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel broken. She felt whole. "What happens now?" she asked. Kieran's smile was full of promise and challenge. "Now we go home, and I teach you exactly what it means to be the Luna of the Nightshade pack." The moon had set hours ago, but silver light still danced around Maya's fingers as Kieran carried her back toward their future together. Chapter 7. 2 weeks after the confrontation with Matthias, Maya stood in the Nightshade pack's training arena, sweat dripping down her face as she faced her most difficult opponent yet, a wolf who refused to accept her as Luna. "Again," commanded Sarah Blackthorne, the pack's former lead female and Kieran's ex-lover. Her raven-black hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her dark eyes held nothing but cold calculation. "If you're truly Luna, you should be able to command any pack member submission. Try again." Maya wiped sweat from her brow and centered herself, calling upon the silver fire that had become as familiar as breathing over the past 2 weeks. Around the arena, other pack members watched with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. Word of her confrontation with Matthias had spread, but not everyone was convinced that one victory made her worthy of the Luna title. "Submit," Maya said, letting power flow into her voice. Sarah's lips curved in a mocking smile. "Make me." The older wolf's resistance hit Maya like a physical wall. Unlike Matthias's corruption, this wasn't malevolent, just utterly, completely unmovable. Sarah had been with the Nightshade pack for 8 years, had shared Kieran's bed for 3 of those, and had expected to eventually claim the Luna position through sheer persistence and political maneuvering. Maya's awakening had shattered those plans. Enough. Kieran's voice cut through the tension as he entered the arena. His gray eyes flicked between Maya and Sarah with barely contained frustration. Sarah, you've made your point. Maya's still learning to control her abilities. Have I? Sarah stepped closer to Maya, her expression predatory. Or have I proven that raw power without experience is useless? A real Luna would have had me on my knees by now. Maya felt the familiar sting of inadequacy, the same feeling that had plagued her at Silver Crest when she couldn't shift. But this time, instead of shame, anger began to build in her chest. Clean, righteous anger that made the silver fire burn brighter. You're right, Maya said quietly. A real Luna would have you on your knees. Sarah's smile widened. Finally ready to admit you're not. But a real Luna, Maya continued, her voice growing stronger, wouldn't use force to prove her worth to someone acting like a jealous child. The arena fell silent. Sarah's face flushed with rage, but Maya wasn't finished. You want to test me?
Fine.
But not here, not in front of the pack like some dominance display. Maya stepped closer to Sarah, her blue eyes now showing hints of silver light. You want to challenge my right to be Luna? Do it properly. Issue a formal challenge. Gasps echoed around the arena. Formal challenges were ancient, dangerous, and binding. The winner claimed not just status, but the right to banish the loser from pack territory forever. Sarah's dark eyes glittered with satisfaction. You can't be serious. You've been Luna for 2 weeks. I've been training for combat my entire life. Then it should be easy for you, Maya replied coolly. Unless you're having second thoughts? The trap was perfectly set. If Sarah backed down now, she'd look weak in front of the pack. If she accepted, Maya would face a fight she might not survive, but she'd do it on her own terms. I accept your challenge, Sarah said formally. 3 nights hence, under the full moon. Combat rules, no weapons, shifting allowed, fight to submission or death. Witnessed and accepted, Maya replied, using the traditional response. As the pack began to murmur excitedly, Kieran approached Maya with a mixture of pride and concern in his expression. You do realize she's going to try to kill you? I know. Maya met his gaze steadily. But I also know I can't lead this pack if they think I'm weak. And I can't be your mate if I'm not strong enough to stand beside you, as an equal. Something flashed in Kieran's eyes at her casual mention of mating, but he didn't comment on it. Instead, he nodded grimly. Then we have 3 days to make sure you survive. The next 3 days were the most intensive of Maya's life. Kieran threw the pack's resources into preparing her for combat, calling in favors from contacts across the supernatural community. Luna magic isn't meant for direct combat, explained Dr. Evelyn Cross, a witch who specialized in supernatural abilities. She'd driven up from Portland specifically to assess Maya's powers. Your gifts are for healing, purification, and pack bonding. Using them aggressively will drain you quickly. Then how do I fight someone who's been training as a warrior her whole life? Maya asked, frustration creeping into her voice. You don't fight like a warrior, Dr. Cross replied. You fight like a Luna. Maya spent hours learning to use her abilities defensively, creating shields of silver light, purifying attacks before they could land, and most importantly, drawing strength from her connection to Kieran and the pack members who truly accepted her. The mate bond isn't complete yet, Dr. Cross explained during one particularly grueling training session, but the foundation is there. You can draw on Kieran's strength, and he on yours. That's going to be crucial. Maya also trained with Zara in hand-to-hand combat, learning how to use her smaller size and quicker reflexes to her advantage. Unlike Sarah, who fought with brute force, Maya learned to be water, flowing around attacks, redirecting energy, striking only when the moment was perfect. Remember, Zara said as they sparred, Sarah's going to try to provoke you into making mistakes. She's a psychological fighter as much as a physical one. Don't let her get in your head. But the most important lesson came from Kieran himself. On the night before the challenge, he found Maya sitting alone on the compound's roof, staring up at the moon that would witness her trial. She looked small and vulnerable in the silver light, and his protective instincts roared to life. Having second thoughts? He asked, settling beside her on the concrete ledge. Third and fourth thoughts, Maya admitted. But not about the fight. About. She gestured between them.
This. Us.
What happens if I die tomorrow? Kieran was quiet for a long moment. You won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He turned to face her, his gray eyes intense. Because you're not fighting for pride or status tomorrow, Maya. You're fighting for family. For the pack that chose you. For the future we're building together. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining. That's the kind of power Sarah doesn't understand and can't defeat. Maya felt the truth of his words resonate in her bones. This wasn't about proving she was strong enough to be Luna. It was about proving she was willing to sacrifice everything to protect what mattered most. Kieran, she said quietly, if something happens tomorrow, nothing will happen. But if it does, she continued, I want you to know that leaving Silvercrest, coming here, meeting you, it's been the best decision I've ever made. Even if it ends tomorrow. Instead of responding with words, Kieran cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. Not the gentle, testing kiss of new attraction, but something deeper, a claiming, a promise, a seal on the bond that had been growing between them since the moment they met. When they broke apart, silver light danced around them both, visible manifestation of the power they shared. Now you tell me something, Maya said, her lips still tingling from his kiss. What? Win or lose tomorrow, will you regret taking a chance on the broken wolf from Silvercrest? Kieran's smile was fierce and proud. Maya Thornfield, you were never broken. You were just waiting for the right pack to show you how extraordinary you really are.
Chapter 8.
The challenge circle had been prepared according to ancient tradition. Stones marked the boundaries, each one inscribed with symbols that would contain the combat and prevent outside interference. The full moon blazed overhead, casting everything in stark silver light. Every member of the Nightshade pack stood witness, their tension palpable in the cool night air. Maya stood at the eastern edge of the circle, wearing simple black clothing that wouldn't restrict her movement. Her hair was braided back, and her blue eyes held steady determination despite the fear churning in her stomach. Across from her, Sarah stretched like a predator, her dark clothing emphasizing her lean, muscular build. This is your last chance to withdraw, Sarah called out, loud enough for the entire pack to hear. Admit you're not fit to be Luna, and I'll let you leave with dignity intact. Maya stepped into the circle. The only thing I'm admitting is that you talk too much. Appreciative chuckles rippled through the watching wolves. Kieran stood at the northern point, his role as alpha requiring him to oversee the challenge despite the obvious strain of watching his potential mate face mortal danger. Combat begins at my word, he announced formally. Victory goes to the wolf who forces submission or... He paused, his jaw tightening. Or achieves kill. There will be no intervention from the pack. This is between the challengers alone. Maya felt the weight of every watching eye, but her focus narrowed to Sarah's predatory smile. The other wolf was confident, experienced, and utterly certain of victory. Maya was going to use that certainty against her. Begin. Sarah shifted instantly, her human form exploding into a massive brown wolf with yellow eyes and bared fangs. She was beautiful and terrible, a perfect example of shifter evolution shaped by combat and survival. Maya remained human. The pack murmured in confusion. Everyone expected her to shift immediately, to meet Sarah's wolf form with her own. But Maya had a different strategy, one that played to her unique strengths instead of her conventional weaknesses. Sarah's wolf form circled the arena, looking for an opening. When she found it, she attacked with devastating speed, claws and fangs aimed at Maya's throat. Silver light erupted from Maya's hands. Not an offensive blast, but a shield that absorbed Sarah's momentum and redirected it harmlessly to the side. The wolf rolled, recovered, and attacked again from a different angle. Again, Maya deflected rather than striking back. Fight me, Sarah snarled, her wolf voice carrying all too clearly. Stop hiding behind your magic. I'm not hiding, Maya replied calmly, weaving between attacks with fluid grace. "I'm learning." And she was. Each of Sarah's attacks taught Maya something about her opponent's patterns, preferences, and weaknesses. The other wolf was powerful but predictable, relying on overwhelming force rather than strategy. After 5 minutes of fruitless assault, Sarah shifted back to human form, her chest heaving with exertion. "What kind of Luna refuses to fight?" "The kind who doesn't need to prove herself through violence," Maya replied. "But if you insist." Maya finally went on the offense, but not in any way the pack expected. Instead of attacking Sarah directly, she reached out with her Luna abilities toward every wolf watching the combat. Pack bonds, dormant but present, flared to life under her touch. Suddenly, every member of the Nightshade pack could feel what Maya felt: her determination, her love for them, her absolute commitment to their protection and prosperity. They felt her power, yes, but more importantly, they felt her heart. "This is what a Luna brings to the pack," Maya said, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "Not just strength but connection. Not just power but purpose." Sarah staggered as the wave of pack bond energy washed over her. For the first time since the challenge began, uncertainty flickered in her dark eyes. "You want to know if I'm strong enough to be your Luna?" Maya asked, addressing the entire pack now. "Then let me show you what strength really looks like." Maya opened herself completely to the pack bonds, letting every wolf present feel her memories: the shame of failing to shift, the pain of exile, the loneliness of never belonging anywhere. But also her determination to protect them, her willingness to sacrifice everything for their safety, and her absolute certainty that the Nightshade pack was her true family. The pack gasped collectively as Maya's emotions flowed through them. Several wolves sank to their knees, overwhelmed by the intensity of her commitment. Even Kieran staggered, feeling the full depth of her devotion to him and to their future together. "That's impossible," Sarah whispered. "Pack bonds can't be forced. They have to be earned." "Exactly," Maya said softly. "They can't be forced. Which means every wolf here is choosing to accept me, choosing to let me be their Luna. The question is, what are you choosing?" Sarah looked around the arena at her packmates, seeing the awe and acceptance in their faces. The challenge had become something else entirely, not a test of combat prowess, but a demonstration of what true leadership looked like. For a long moment, Sarah stood frozen at the center of the circle. Then slowly, she sank to one knee. "I submit," she said quietly. "Luna." The pack erupted in howls of celebration. Maya swayed on her feet, the effort of maintaining so many pack bonds simultaneously finally taking its toll. Before she could fall, Kieran was there, sweeping her into his arms as silver light continued to dance around them both. "How?" he asked, wonder and pride fighting for dominance in his voice. "How did you forge pack bonds with wolves who barely know you?" Maya smiled weakly against his chest. "I didn't forge anything. I just showed them who I really am and let them choose." She looked up at him, her blue eyes bright with exhaustion and triumph. "The same way you chose me that first day in Silvercrest. You saw something worth believing in." Kieran's kiss was fierce and proud and full of promises for their future. Around them, the Nightshade pack held their approval under the full moon, celebrating their Luna and the beginning of a new era. Maya Thornfield, the broken wolf who couldn't shift, had found her destiny at last. And it was more extraordinary than she had ever dared to dream. But even as the pack celebrated, none of them noticed the figure watching from the forest's edge, a familiar shape with storm-gray eyes and a calculating expression. Matthias Thornfield might have been cleansed of corruption, but he hadn't forgotten the power he'd felt flowing through his granddaughter. And he wasn't the only ancient being who had taken notice of the Nightshade pack's new Luna. The real trials were just beginning. Chapter 9. 3 weeks after her victory over Sarah, Maya woke to the scent of smoke and the sound of emergency alarms echoing through the Nightshade compound. She rolled out of bed, immediately alert. Through her window, she could see orange flames licking at the eastern perimeter wall. But this wasn't an accident. The fire formed perfect geometric patterns, and the smoke carried undertones of sulfur and ancient magic. Maya. Kieran's voice carried through the walls as he pounded on her door. We're under attack. She threw on clothes and weapons, her newly honed instincts already reaching out through the pack bonds to assess the situation. What she found made her blood run cold. The compound was surrounded, not by ordinary enemies, but by supernatural forces that radiated power older than civilization itself. Maya burst from her room to find Kieran coordinating the pack's defense through his tactical headset. His gray eyes were grim as he spotted her. How many? She asked, falling into step beside him as they headed for the command center. At least 50 supernatural mercenaries. Witches, rogue shifters, what looks like a few demons, and something else I can't identify. His jaw tightened. They're not here for the pack, Maya. They're here for you. The command center buzzed with controlled chaos. Zara stood before a wall of monitors showing feeds from security cameras around the perimeter. The images revealed a coordinated assault unlike anything the Nightshade pack had ever faced. Whoever hired this army has serious resources, Zara reported. Professional-grade supernatural mercenaries don't come cheap, and they certainly don't work together unless someone with major influence is pulling the strings. Any demands? Maya asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Just one. Zara's expression was grim. They want you to surrender yourself in exchange for sparing the pack. Maya felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Once again, her very existence was putting innocent people in danger. But this time was different. This time, she had the power to fight back, and people worth fighting for. That's not happening, Kieran said firmly before Maya could respond. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Even if staying means everyone here dies because of me? Maya asked quietly. Especially then. Kieran turned to face her fully, his alpha authority radiating from every line of his body. You're not the broken wolf who ran from Silvercrest anymore, Maya. You're the Luna of the Nightshade pack. And we protect our own. Around the command center, pack members nodded their agreement. Even Sarah, who had challenged Maya's worthiness just weeks before, stepped forward. Luna, she said formally, the pack stands with you, whatever comes. Maya felt the strength of their commitment flow through the pack bonds, steadying her resolve. But before she could respond, every screen in the command center flickered and went black. When they came back online, they showed a single image, a figure standing just outside the compound's main gate. Maya's breath caught. She recognized the tall, elegant woman with silver-white hair and eyes like winter starlight. Those same eyes had haunted the oldest pack legends, the stories grandmothers whispered to frighten unruly cubs. Lysandra Nightfall, Maya whispered. The pack fell silent. Every supernatural creature in North America knew that name. Lysandra was the last of the ancient Fae Queens, a being of power and malice who had supposedly disappeared centuries ago when the human world grew too dangerous for her kind. She's a myth, Frost said, but his voice lacked conviction. Myths don't hire mercenary armies, Zara replied grimly. On the screens, Lysandra raised one delicate hand. When she spoke, her voice somehow carried clearly through the compound's speakers, a feat that should have been impossible given their security measures. Maya Thornfield, the Fae Queen's voice was musical and terrible, like wind chimes made from human bones. Descendant of the Luna Bless line, I have come to offer you a choice. Here we go, Maya muttered, but she approached the main screen. I'm listening. You possess power that was never meant for mortal wolves. Luna magic is a gift from the Fae realm, bestowed upon your ancestors through an ancient pact. That pact has been broken, which means the power you wield belongs to me by right. Maya felt Kieran tense beside her, his protective instincts flaring to life. But she kept her voice steady as she replied, What kind of choice? Lysandra's smile was sharp as winter. Come with me willingly, and I will teach you to wield your abilities as they were meant to be used. You will become something greater than any Luna in recorded history. Refuse, and I will take your power by force, and destroy everyone you care about in the process. That's not much of a choice, Maya said. It's more mercy than I typically show mortals. Lysandra's expression grew cold. You have until sunrise to decide. After that, I will demonstrate what happens when Fey generosity is spurned. The screens went black again, leaving the pack in tense silence. Options? Kieran asked grimly. Zara pulled up tactical assessments on her monitors. Not good. We've got maybe 40 combat-ready pack members against professional supernatural mercenaries led by a Fey queen. In a straight fight, we're dead. Then we don't fight straight, Maya said quietly. An idea was forming in her mind, dangerous, possibly suicidal, but potentially their only chance. How long until sunrise? 6 hours. Maya nodded, her decision crystallizing. Then we have 6 hours to prepare, but not for defense. She looked around the command center, meeting each pack member's eyes. We're going on the offensive. Maya, Kieran said carefully, what are you thinking? She turned to face him, and for a moment he saw not the uncertain girl he'd rescued from Silver Crest, but the Luna she had become. Powerful, determined, and utterly fearless. I'm thinking, Maya said, that it's time to show a Fey Queen what happens when she threatens my family.
Chapter 10.
Maya's plan was audacious in its simplicity and potentially catastrophic in its execution. You want to do what? Dr. Cross's voice crackled through the emergency communication link they'd established with their supernatural contacts. Temporarily sever my connection to the pack and channel all of our combined power into a single strike, Maya repeated patiently. Like what Kieran and I did against Matthias, but amplified by every pack bond I formed. That level of power channeling could kill you, the witch warned. Luna magic isn't designed for that kind of offensive use. Your body might not be able to handle it. Then we make sure my body doesn't have to handle it alone, Maya replied, looking at Kieran. The mate bond is strong enough to share the load, right? Kieran's expression was grim but determined. In theory. But Maya, if this goes wrong, we're all dead anyway. Maya stood in the center of the compound's courtyard, surrounded by every member of the Nightshade pack. Above them, the moon was beginning to set, bringing them closer to Lysandra's deadline. At least this way, we go down fighting. The pack had spent the last 4 hours in frantic preparation. Every wolf who could fight had been armed and positioned. Those who couldn't, the injured, the very young, the non-combatants, had been evacuated to secure locations. Maya had also sent coded messages to every allied pack within 500 miles, calling in favors and debts that might make the difference between survival and annihilation. Now, with less than 2 hours until dawn, it was time to roll the dice. Everyone ready? Maya asked, looking around at the faces of wolves who had become her chosen family. Zara checked her weapons one final time. Strike teams are in position. The moment you create an opening, we move. Medical station is prepped for casualties, reported Connor, who would coordinate the non-combatant's safety. Even Sarah stepped forward. Luna, the pack is with you. Whatever happens. Maya nodded, then walked to where Kieran waited at the center of the courtyard. Around them, the Nightshade pack formed a circle, every wolf placing their hands on the shoulders of those beside them. The pack bond had never been stronger, or more necessary. Last chance to back out, Kieran said quietly as Maya took his hands. Not a chance in hell, she replied and kissed him. The moment their lips met, power exploded between them. But this time, instead of just Maya's silver fire and Kieran's alpha strength, the connection pulled in every pack bond Maya had forged. The combined spiritual energy of 43 wolves flowed through her, guided by her will and amplified by her Luna magic. Maya had never felt anything like it. She was herself, but also more, connected to every heart, every soul, every fierce protective instinct in the pack. Their strength became her strength, their determination her determination, their love for each other the fuel that would either save them all or destroy them in the attempt. Now, she whispered. Silver light erupted from the courtyard, visible from miles away as Maya channeled the pack's combined power into a lance of pure energy that pierced the pre-dawn sky. But instead of attacking their enemies, she aimed the blast at the dimensional barriers between worlds, specifically at the thin places where the Fey realm touched their reality. The response was immediate and terrible. Lysandra's scream of rage echoed across the valley as Maya's power tore through carefully maintained magical boundaries, destabilizing the dimensional anchors that allowed the Fey Queen to operate in the mortal world. Clever little wolf, Lysandra's voice carried on the wind as her perfect form began to flicker and fade. But you cannot banish me so easily. Maya felt the Fey Queen's counterattack slam into her defenses, ancient magic that sought to corrupt and twist her Luna abilities into something dark and servile. For a moment, the silver fire wavered as alien power tried to rewrite her very nature. Then Kieran's strength flowed into her through their deepening mate bond, followed by the unwavering loyalty of every pack member in the circle. The corruption met their combined will and shattered like ice against stone. "You're right," Maya said, her voice carrying power that made the very air shimmer. "I can't banish you, but I can make you choose. Retreat to your own realm now, or be trapped here when I collapse every dimensional gateway within 100 miles. The threat was real. Maya could feel the dimensional fabric trembling under the strain of her channeled power. One more focused blast would indeed seal the barriers between worlds, but it would also strand every supernatural creature in the area, cutting them off from the magical sources that sustain them, including Maya herself. Lysandra's form solidified as she considered the ultimatum. Around the compound, her mercenary army waited for orders, but Maya could sense their growing unease. They had signed up to capture one Luna, not to be trapped in the mortal world forever. "You would sacrifice your own power to protect these mortals?" Lysandra asked. "I would sacrifice anything to protect my family," Maya replied without hesitation. The Fey Queen studied her for a long moment, then threw back her head and laughed, a sound like breaking crystal that made every wolf in the courtyard flinch. "Perhaps there is more of your ancestors in you than I thought," Lysandra said. "Very well, little Luna. You have earned a reprieve. But know this, the power you wield will draw others. Ancient beings who make me seem merciful by comparison. Your trials have only just begun." With that warning, Lysandra and her mercenary army simply vanished, leaving behind only the lingering scent of winter roses and old magic. Maya swayed on her feet, the massive power expenditure finally catching up with her. But before she could fall, the entire pack was there to catch her, not just Kieran, but every wolf in the circle, supporting their Luna as she had supported them. "Is it over?" she asked weakly. "This part is," Kieran replied, pulling her close. "But she's right about one thing. Word is going to spread about what happened here tonight. Every supernatural power broker in the world is going to want to know about the Luna, who faced down a Fey Queen and lived." Maya looked around at her pack, battle-ready, victorious, and utterly devoted to each other. These wolves had been outcasts and mercenaries, living on the fringes of supernatural society. Now they were something else entirely, a family forged in fire, led by a Luna who had claimed her destiny through courage rather than birthright. "Let them come," Maya said, feeling the strength of 43 pack bonds flowing through her. "We'll be ready." As the sun rose over the Cascade Mountains, Maya Thornfield stood surrounded by her chosen family, finally understanding what it truly meant to be Luna. Not just the bearer of ancient power, but the heart of a pack that would follow her into any darkness and emerge stronger together. The broken wolf from Silver Crest was gone forever. In her place stood Maya Thornfield, Luna of the Nightshade pack, ready to face whatever challenges the supernatural world could throw at her. And with Kieran at her side and the pack at her back, she was absolutely unstoppable. Epilogue. 6 months later. The wedding took place under the full moon in a clearing deep within Nightshade territory. Representatives from dozens of allied packs had come to witness the formal mating ceremony between Alpha Kieran Nightshade and Luna Maya Thornfield, a bonding that would be remembered in supernatural history for generations. Maya wore a dress of midnight blue silk that complemented her eyes, now permanently touched with silver light. Around her throat gleamed a necklace of moon-blessed silver, a gift from the pack that marked her status as their Luna. But the most beautiful thing about her was her expression, radiant with joy and absolute certainty about the path she had chosen. Kieran stood waiting at the altar, magnificent in formal black that emphasized his natural authority. His gray eyes held nothing but love and pride as Maya approached, escorted by every member of the pack in a procession that symbolized their acceptance and support. The ceremony was conducted by Elder Marcus from the Silvercrest pack, a gesture of reconciliation that had surprised everyone, including Maya. Alpha Blackstone had personally requested that Silvercrest be allowed to witness their former outcast's triumph, though Maya suspected Elena had something to do with the invitation. Do you, Maya Thornfield, accept Kieran Nightshade as your mate and co-leader of this pack, to stand with him through all challenges and share with him all victories? Elder Marcus intoned. I do, Maya said, her voice clear and strong. Do you, Kieran Nightshade, accept Maya Thornfield as your mate and co-leader of this pack, to support her unique gifts and defer to her wisdom in all matters of pack harmony? I do, Kieran replied, his voice rough with emotion. When they kissed to seal their bond, silver light and shadow power spiraled together in a visible manifestation of their union. The assembled wolves howled their approval, and Maya felt the mate bond snap into perfect completion, a connection deeper than pack loyalty, stronger than Luna magic, and more precious than any power she had ever wielded. Later, as the celebration continued around them, Maya and Kieran stood together at the edge of the clearing, watching their extended family, pack members, allies, and even former enemies who had become friends celebrate the beginning of a new era. Any regrets? Kieran asked, pulling his new mate close. Maya thought of the girl who had stood in a ceremonial circle 18 months ago, unable to shift and convinced she was broken beyond repair. That girl could never have imagined this moment, surrounded by love, wielding power beyond her dreams, and about to embark on adventures that would reshape the supernatural world. Only one, Maya said softly.
Kieran tensed.
What? Maya smiled up at him, her eyes dancing with mischief. I regret that it took me so long to realize I was never the broken wolf. I was just a Luna waiting for the right pack to come home to. Kieran's laughter mixed with the sounds of celebration as he spun his mate around, both of them glowing with the power of their completed bond. Around them, the Nightshade pack held their joy to the moon, celebrating their Luna and Alpha and the extraordinary future they would build together. Maya Thornfield had found her destiny at last, not in the power she wielded, but in the family she had chosen and the love that would guide her through whatever challenges lay ahead. The broken wolf had become legendary, and this was only the beginning of her story.
The end.